Hey guys, welcome back to Odd One Out. It is Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. I just put out a video on how Nazi fascism and authoritarian state was normalized in Germany, how it came about, the conditions that created it, and how it was normalized, and the intimidation, the power structure, all those kinds of things, and talked about the parallels to the MAGA movement to current day America. And I mentioned how history doesn't actually repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. And while we're not to the same levels of authoritarian state and rule and killing, intimidation, violence, we can definitely see a bunch of the parallels, especially in the power structure and the rhetoric. And so now the second video for this evening is going to be talking about the USA side of it and focusing in on how we have really, like, democracy is so much different than what it was. Now under Trump, it is far more different than it's ever been. We are far more authoritarian. The Democratic backsliding is intense, honestly. It's happened very fast. And just, again, the parallels between the rhetoric and the actions of the Nazi government and the MAGA government are astounding. And so we're going to kind of go over those. So if you could please like, comment, and subscribe, it helps the channel grow. I'm just a beginner. I'm trying to get things going, moving here. So without any further ado, let's jump into the research on it and let's talk about it. So post-2020 polarization and election denial saw fake elector schemes in 7 Biden-won states in the January 6 Capitol assault. Trump's rhetoric, such as "fight like hell" and repeated claims of an enemy within, as we saw during that time, and especially on the campaign trail for 2024, paralleled fascist demonization. Dozens of militia members, such as the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, have been convicted of seditious conspiracy for January 6 and pardoned. New executive directors, such as NSPM7, which I talked about in this last video, cast broad dissent as domestic terrorism. Literally spelled out in the bulletin, says that leftists and pro-trans rhetoric, or people that are pro-trans, are terrorists. Go read it for yourself. Go fact check it for yourself. New executive, domestic terrorism. Polls reveal deep distrust. Example, only 31% of Republicans trusted the 2022 midterm results versus 83% of Democrats. And only 28% of Americans now trust mass media, which is, like, we are so cooked. These trends, such as scapegoating, propaganda, legal overreach, and institutional accommodation, mirror historical patterns of democratic erosion. I talk about how it's like a fever dream just watching just everything around me. I'm like, how are people just sitting there and okay with it? Like, is it just that they want this? It's their party that's in control. Are they really that anti-democrat? Or, but you're watching it with the media, too. There are very few outlets, like CNN. You would think, yeah, super pro-lefty CNN, they'll actually... No, they're not opposing. They're literally... Dana Bash just questioned Jamie Raskin just the other week. Do you regret calling Trump fascist or saying that his policies are harmful towards Americans? And it's like, no, I don't. That's literally what he is. That's what his rhetoric is. And you're going to sit here and ask me about my rhetoric, which is literally just critiquing his policies, whenever he's out there like, Rob Reiner is dead. He died of TDS. Paul Pelosi almost got killed to death by a hammer. How's he doing? Looks like his wall failed. Robert Mueller is dead. I'm glad. It's like, are we serious? The Democrats are vile. They're scum. They're the enemy from within. They should be handled by the military. It's like, you're really going to ask Jamie Raskin about his critiques of MAGA policy and just overlook everything the freaking president of the United States is saying? It's unreal. Like, what is our media doing? Where are the, like, why is it up to Kyle Kalinske? Why is it up to some random YouTuber? Why is it up to these YouTubers like Kyle Kalinske, Hassan Piker, Destiny? Why is it up to all these leftist and liberal commentators on YouTube to actually have to tell the truth? Why can't CNN do that? They get paid millions. Jake Tapper gets paid tens of millions of dollars to do what? To do what? So, let's get into it. The election subversion from the 2020 election. After Trump lost in November 2020, he and allies propagated unfounded fraud claims, notably the Stop the Steal, and they organized fake electors in 7 Biden-won states to submit alternate certificates to undermine the voters. They gaslit you and literally, my friends here in Oklahoma, You actually think Biden got that many votes? It's like, are you going to argue any facts? Anything to support what you're saying other than just vibes? Like this got taken to 63 court cases, all of them overturned on They had no standing. They had no evidence. If you have no standing, you have no evidence. No evidence of the claims that they're making. They gaslit all the followers into believing that it was the Democrats that stole the election when it was their guy. It's unreal. Bro, I crash out on a routine basis with this stuff. Like, what? How are we living in this world? So, a House report noted that courts uniformly rejected these gambits as illegal. Federal Judge Carter later called the fake elector scheme an illegal attempt to subvert democracy. Vice President Pence and acting AG Rosenstein refused to go along with it. J.D. Vance would have. That's why he chose him. Rosenstein blocked a letter claiming dual slates, but Trump continued pressuring officials. He called Rathesberger, I need 11,480 votes, which is one more than Joe Biden has right now. It's the perfect phone call. Come on, give me a break. The January 6th riot. On January 6, 2021, Trump addressed a crowd telling them to fight like hell to overturn the election. Thousands marched, and all they want to focus on is, but do it peacefully. And it's like, you literally just riled them up for weeks and months and told them that everything was being stolen. They needed to do something about it. And you say, fight like hell. They have a gallows chanting, hang Mike Pence. And say, Mike Pence should have done the right thing, is what you said. But go do it peacefully. Okay. Yeah, sure, yeah. When you already have a bunch of the mob just there, ready to go. Thousands marched to the Capitol, where rioters, including Oath Keepers and Proud Boy militants, violently breached security. 4 Trump supporters died, including Ashley Babbitt. That's all we ever hear about now. The crawling through a broken window, the last barrier between the violent, angry mob and the actual the congressional body sitting there on the floor, like all the senators and representatives sitting right there on the floor. And that's the last. Yeah, and she had a gun trained on her for like 10 seconds, and she kept going. It's like, yeah, that's the last security measure. What are we talking about? Of course she got shot and killed. The DOJ, let's see, I got a little bit off here. They violently breached security. Authorities later charged nearly 1,200 people, all of them pardoned, including the violent cop beaters. DOJ statements noted hundreds of assaults and major seditious conspiracy convictions were handed down and pardoned. DOJ called these groups designed to oppose their own government by force. Republicans remain deeply split. A 2022 poll found 89% of Democrats versus 45% of Republicans deemed January 6th insurrection. So not even a majority of Republicans would call it insurrection. While 25% of Republicans saw it as a peaceful protest. It's a cult. Only 53% of Americans blame Trump for the attack. Like, are you serious? Reflecting partisan divides. This shouldn't be a partisan thing. We should be able to live in reality with the same shared facts. The enemy from within rhetoric. The ultimate fascist rhetoric. Trump has repeatedly labeled political opponents as the enemy from within. In October 2024, on the campaign trail, he told a rally that Representative Adam Schiff was the enemy from within and warned of radical left lunatics who might need to be handled by the National Guard or the military. What are we talking about? And y'all still voted for him. He even said that these bad people, implied Democrats and activists, are a greater threat than foreign enemies. He just reiterated it, just like the other week. He said, now that the war in Iran is over, now that the enemy is done, the real enemy now left are the Democrats. Experts note this language echoes McCarthyism and fosters a dangerous us versus them mindset. Yeah, it's all identity politics. Such framing dehumanizes dissenters and prime supporters for crackdowns. In September 2025, a Trump administration memo, which we've been echoing this over and over and over again, NSPM 7, declared U.S. domestic terrorism was surging and directed agencies to investigate and disrupt perceived ideological opponents. Ideological. It warns of a supposed anti-fascist threat, even linking border control advocacy to violence. It called leftists, and it called pro-trans people terrorists. I'm a leftist. Probably shouldn't say that, because that's all of a sudden an admission of guilt, according to this national bulletin. I'm not making any of this up. Go look it up. Civil liberty groups like the ACLU have called NSPM 7 chilling, noting it conflates lawful activism like public health or racial justice advocacy within political violence. That's the problem with this, is that it just took this massive umbrella of people. Leftists are in the same, literally in the same sentence, leftists and jihadists are in the terrorist group. Pro-trans people and jihadists are terrorists. It's all under the same umbrella. It's like, what are we talking about? Though touted as targeting extremists, NSPM 7 uses vague labels such as anti-Americanism and could sweep lawful speech under terrorism law. This mirrors how Weimar Nazis used broad emergency decrees for intimidation, such as you saw with the Reichstag fire. No new crimes are created by NSPM 7, but it signals intent to treat political opposition as criminal. The parallel to Nazi Germany is right there for you folks. The media ecosystem of disinformation. This is how it all started. Trust in institution is at historic lows, and I'm sorry, I keep on coughing. I have been under the weather, allergies and a cold kind of thing going on. Who knows? I got a kid in the house. If you're a parent, you get it. A September 2025 Gallup poll found only 28% of Americans trust the news media. Only 8% of Republicans. With 71% expressing not very much or no confidence. Digital platforms amplify falsehoods. An MIT study showed false news on Twitter was 70% more likely to be retweeted and spread farther, faster, and deeper than truth. That doesn't help that Elon Musk takes and just puts out the most chaotic, crazy, rampant disinformation. And then the correction that gets put out, that corrects all the falsehoods out there, gets like 1/10 of the coverage. It's like by then the damage is too late. The disinformation was seen by millions. It was reacted to by millions. And then the correction gets like 28,000 views. And it's like, no wonder we're in the spot that we're in. Filter bubbles and algorithmic engagement reward outrage, making facts subordinate to sensationalism. Mainstream outlets, especially partisan outlets, have spread conspiracy narratives such as unsupported fraud claims to enormous audiences, normalizing distrust. Thank you, Fox News. I'm glad you got sued for $787 million for lying about the election fraud, although you haven't learned anything. You probably need to be sued again. Even public figures sometimes accuse journalists of being fake news or enemies, echoing fascist-era attacks on the free press. It's the first thing to go is the free press. People, study history. It should have been evident in 2016. Even when this rhetoric was turned way down, it was still the same kind of mirroring of it. Anti-institutionalism, anti-press. Public opinion polls document severe polarization and declining faith in democracy. A 2022 UCSD survey found that 83% of Democrats trusted the midterm results versus only 31% of Republicans. Half of Americans view political divides as an existential threat to democracy. Despite broad agreement that democracy is at risk, Republicans and Democrats interpret events like January 6th in starkly different ways. It is crazy how just being different political ideology can just like completely reshape how you view reality. It's unhealthy. These fractured beliefs mirror the Weimar era's propaganda-fueled divisions. The elite accommodation versus pushback. Again, this is like what I was talking about with CNN. Many Republican leaders either embraced or downplayed subversion. Congressional investigations have found dozens of GOP officials aided fake elector slates or voted to reject results. Most efforts failed. Thank God. Few faced consequences. That's the problem. Major corporations and foreign governments largely avoided public condemnation of election subversion despite initial statements against violence. In contrast, some institutions have acted to uphold norms. Hundreds of rioters have been prosecuted and key officials certified results lawfully. And then he came in and he's now just tarnishing it all. For example, many state election officials, even Republican, resisted pressure to alter outcomes. It doesn't like these people. They don't pay attention that even Republican judges are the ones saying, "No, this is ridiculous. You're wrong. This is a lie." But then they all get labeled as leftist activists. Courts consistently rejected baseless lawsuits upholding election integrity. In Weimar terms, these are the tiny fires of resistance against rising authoritarianism. The problem is this is all, pre the re-election, pre-2024. So, and we have the Supreme Court now that for some cases, like I forget what map it was, was it the Alabama election maps that were like issued in 2023 and were being challenged, and they said, okay, no, it's you can't alter them now. It's too late. But then whenever they overturned the civil rights, like parts of the Civil Rights Voting Act, they're letting them just go do it right now. You had 48,000 people vote in, what was it, Tennessee? You had 48,000 people vote, or maybe it was Louisiana, in the primaries. And they're like, oh, no, it's not too late. You can go ahead and just restructure all your maps. You can toss out the 48,000 votes that have already happened. You can suspend your midterm elections. It's like, what are we doing? Conservative media personalities and social networks have sometimes propagated election myths uncritically, extending radical narratives, and they've been sued for it even. Meanwhile, fact-checkers and independent journalists work to debunk lies, but have often limited reach, again, because the outrage, the ridiculousness, the sensationalism catches more views, especially whenever you got a guy like Elon Musk who paid tens of billions of dollars to buy Twitter and turn it into a massive disinformation machine. Survey research shows growing numbers of Americans get political news on partisan social platforms, while extremism can flourish unchecked. This has normalized fringe theories. By 2025, multiple polls found large minorities believe elections are rigged despite clean record of oversight. You have all these is it three? Count them. 1, 2, 3 counts of voter fraud among multiple hand recounts and audits of over like 10 million voters. 3 votes cast out of like 10 million were found to be fraudulent between Utah and Georgia. Utah was trying really hard to find fraud. This audit was done, I think, in 2025, and they were part of the election fraud. Like they're like, we're gonna find the election fraud, and Donald Trump is telling the truth. And they go look, and they're like, we found one. We found one, and then Georgia does a hand recount, I think, 3 times in the 2020 election, and they got 2 counts of voter fraud, and all this stuff, by the way, gets found and prosecuted. It doesn't happen. It doesn't change elections at all. But people don't learn. It doesn't matter. This stuff doesn't matter. Like, we're not living in the same reality. Facts don't matter to some of these people. And it's like, I'm crashing out. I'm losing it. Like, this is insane. I'm an adult. I'm supposed to be living in the greatest country in the world. I hope that I still am. I question it. I often question it. Don't arrest me for saying it. It's like, I demand better out of my country. I demand to live, like, we can have different views on taxation, on how we should do healthcare, on how we should do so many things. We should not have different opposing views on what is fact, what is reality. That should be shared. And then we draw our own opinions off of that shared reality of facts. But we can't even do that. And by the way, this is not a both sides issue. This is not. There's literally one side that a bunch of Kool-Aid drinkers. The guy posted himself as Jesus H. Christ. And the whole party of evangelicals are like, that's my president. You got freaking, what is his name? Big time, not Bill O'Reilly, big time guy, Sean Hannity, who's a Catholic, who said, the president beefing with the Pope, that whole argument, I don't even consider myself a Catholic anymore. It's like, you guys are a cult, a massive cult. Watch The Good Liars. Watch them go around to the different Trump rallies and just look at them talk to these people. It's insane. You came to a leftist channel. Sorry if you expected me to try to play the both sides bullshit. Bullshit. I need to stop trying to hold in whenever it's necessary. So, let's go over the lessons and implications. Both cases between Weimar Germany and now demonstrate how economic and social crises combined with nationalist propaganda, violent intimidation, and cynical lawmaking can subvert democracy. Hitler's rise exemplified how a voted leader can exploit fear to dismantle checks and balance. The U.S. today exhibits innocuous warning signs, propaganda-laden rhetoric, violence accepted as patriotic, and legal gambits to override our elections. And again, I said this in the prior video, it is so frustrating how Germany had actual extreme level crisis, 30% unemployment. They just lost World War I, and they were broke. Everybody, they were starving. And you got over here, people are, upset about what happened. You had the whole world underwent inflation after the pandemic. And if you want to take a step back even further, and say what allowed Trump to even get in 2016. Were they upset that Barack Obama was a successful black president? What were they upset about that they wanted Trump to burn everything down? Tell me. Hands down, the number one country, like unequivocally a better country back then than it is now under Barack Obama. I don't care if you're a left or a right winger. It's just a fact. That's the way it was. Economically, socially, everything was better. Our world standing. What made y'all want to burn down the whole system? And let alone burn it down to like actually like you drain the swamp. You completely filled up the swamp. You chose the worst man you could have ever chosen for president. And you still back him. Like if you're MAGA, you're a triple trumper. Like what is wrong with you? Your brain needs to be checked. The normalization of extremism. When mainstream figures repeatedly dismiss election integrity or demonize opponents, e.g. calling millions subversives, extreme views move towards the center of political discourse. This parallels Weimar Germans seeing Nazi extremism as a solution to the instability. Rising acceptance of these ideas is evidenced as by the polls and media trust collapse suggests erosion of shared reality. Again, that's just what I said. Primary sources such as court rulings, DOJ filings, legislative reports show U.S. institutions have resisted some unconstitutional moves. However, the transformation of norms is troubling. Democratic theory warns that once fear and othering justify violence or legal overrides, reversal is difficult. Again, actually not again, I haven't said this yet. We could get the greatest, we could have FDR come back from the dead. I don't know how much damage we're going to be able to fix. Like, you certainly can't fix it in a 4-year or 8-year span. Some of the damage that we've done is permanent, especially when it comes to the world standing. It's actually crazy what's happening, and the Republicans are sitting there doing nothing. So, bro, what are we gonna do with these people? I don't know. Scholars document how early 21st century America meets many criteria for democratic backsliding. Empirical data includes election audits, congressional investigations, sentencing transcripts, provide a detailed record of these processes. Continuing to compare mechanisms such as propaganda, scapegoating, and legal changes across history can help reinforce institutional checks. Preventing repetition of Weimar's collapse requires broad public awareness of these parallels, vigorous fact-checking, and defense of norms. So that's it. That's all the parallels and the facts and stats between the two. You had a lot of me spitting over here and getting ridiculous and crashing out. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but like I don't know how to explain the fever dream of reality that we're living in. And there's a lot of people that even think like me, but then think, like, bro, like, hey, I appreciate it. You speak a lot of what I'm feeling, but I just don't know that it matters. Or you have people that are just like, you're just too, why are you so caught up in this? It's like, how can you not be? Especially for like me, and you have a child, you have a wife and a child, and you're handing this country over to them. Like, what are we doing? Do you not actually care about living in a functioning democracy in a prospering country? You're watching the rich get richer, the frauds get pardoned, the fraudsters get pardoned, the violent cop abusers get pardoned, and you're watching all these people, like an extremely unsettling amount of people that are like, I'm for it, and it's like, are we forever going to be cooked? People, wake up. There's a huge portion of the people that are awake that like what they're seeing. It's up to you to do something about it. We live in a democracy where our votes still matter. Get out there and do something. You have to treat politics like a business. You have to take it serious. You have to invest in it. You have to do everything you can. Use your voice. Go protest. Be a poll watcher. And that goes like, the Republicans talked about how many poll watchers they had. The Democrats need to do the same thing. We need to have checks on our democracy. We're losing our country. So, had to go over those parallels. It's unsettling, the parallels you see between Nazi fascist Germany and just 1 year of Trump. So, in this second term. So, appreciate y'all tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe, as I said. And I will see you on the next video. Odd one out.